Okay, Madam Secretary, are you ready?
I'm ready.
President Calhoun, are you ready?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started then. Welcome, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the Henry Ford College Regular Board of Trustees meeting. Today is April 20th. We're starting a little late. We're entering a new world here of communication, and we had technical difficulties. It's 7:12. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting. It's actually a virtual meeting, and the Zoom webinar meeting number is 969-9289-3928. Now go ahead and call this meeting to order. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Lane here. McDonald. Apparently not here. Mead.
Here.
Mozeb.
Here.
Petchlikoff. Here. Warp.
Here.
Hareberry.
Here. Next item, please.
Approval of minutes of the following Henry Ford College Board of Trustees meetings. Special meeting, April 2nd, 2020. Recommended action, make any necessary corrections, and move to approve these minutes.
So moved.
Second.
So the motion was moved by Trustee Petchikoff, supported by Trustee Mead. At this point, I will ask, are there any corrections to the meeting minutes?
No.
No.
Okay. Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Lane, yes. McDonald. Mead.
Yes.
Mozeb.
Yes.
Petchlikoff.
Yes.
Warp.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes. We have 6 yeses, and I notice Trustee McDonald just joined us. Trustee McDonald, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, so the motion does pass with a 6 yes vote. Okay, next item, please.
President's items.
President Cavalluna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Madam Secretary. Welcome back to what I think you're right, Mr. Chairman, as describing our new world of communication and technology in support of it. I usually spend time during the time you give me under President's item for your agenda to address many various things, most of which are points of pride and updates for you in the college community. And I see that in our attendance today, I have several of my colleagues and people who are interested in the college. I would also note that I've been attempting as best as possible to communicate with all of you via email and telephone and some Zoom meetings about what's been happening with the college since we last had our special meeting. And I have given you all of the documents that are routine for our meetings, and they are before you. But I don't plan to talk about them. In fact, I don't plan to talk about much about the college, because I have decided that the best and most appropriate thing for me to do is to spend my time paying homage to one of our colleagues. You may have seen and you may have read that Monica Cazares, an instructor in the surgical technologist program, passed away on April 12th of the coronavirus. Ms. Cazares was 49 years old when she passed away. She was an alumna of our college. No surprise, she was in the surgical technologist program where she graduated. And when she passed away, she was an instructor in our surgical technologist program. Ms. Cazares was born in Canada, and she was the child of immigrants from Central America, and she graduated from Canton High School. It was 2006 when she graduated from us here at Henry Ford College. Of course, she had an associate's degree in surgical technology. She was a classmate of one of my proudest colleagues, at least one of the colleagues I'm most proud of, and that's a young woman who's a leader named Kiambra Pearson. Now, I didn't know Ms. Cazares very well, but I do know Ms. Pearson well, and I have taken the opportunity to talk to Ms. Pearson about who she called one of her best friends, Ms. Cazares. Ms. Pearson was a colleague of hers, both when they were in class at Henry Ford College and when they were colleagues just this year. They both earned their bachelor's degrees together from Siena Heights in healthcare management. Of course, then Ms. Cazares became a surgical technologist, and she was certified. I've learned a lot about Ms. Cazares over the last week, and I want to tell you a few things about her, because I truly do believe that this college is a college that honors each other as teammates and as colleagues. This woman's life was only best described as a journey in public service. I did not know her well, but I wish that I had. After learning about her for the last week, I can tell you, she must have made an impression on nearly every single person she met. I have heard stories upon stories about her joy and her passion, her advocacy, her courage. And candidly, this woman must have had more energy than 3 people put together. But if I had to sum up everything I've learned about Ms. Cazares in the last week, I would tell you her life was marked by one of service. Let me tell you a little bit about that. In 1995, Ms. Cazares began her career at Southwest Solutions in its early childhood program. Now, that's a public service entity in Southwest Detroit, and she moved up after her decade there into the field of public relations manager for that organization. If you read the Detroit News spread on this woman's life, you'll see that her colleagues there and the erstwhile CEO praised her for her passion, her ability to advocate, and her public service. After a decade there at Southwest Solutions, she went on, of course, with her now new ability to be a surgical technologist, and she started working at Harper Hospital in Detroit. In 2012, she came back to Southwest Solutions, heading its wellness program for adults suffering from mental illness. Besides being a surgical technologist, Ms. Cazares had time to become a business coach and a consultant. She actually founded her own company, a consulting company called Blue Order. She would help by using her bilingual skills to help people who are entrepreneurs and help them navigate the healthcare field. In 2017, Prosper US Detroit hired Ms. Cazares to provide training to aspiring small business entrepreneurs in Southwest Detroit. She recently co-founded Southwest Detroit Restaurant Week, which was launched during the Hispanic Heritage Month with a team of volunteers to celebrate the diversity of the Latin American cuisine in Detroit. If you're like me, you're starting to wonder if she had 2 people, maybe an identical twin who could do all this, but it was all her. And then she came back to become an instructor here in our surgical technologist program. But before that, she was a teacher at Sanford Brown College in Dearborn and Baker College in those programs. And she was a program director there at Baker College. Last month, as the COVID-19 pandemic started to come in on Southeast Michigan, it would be no surprise to you, but it would be an amazing amount of courage that Ms. Cazares returned to the front lines, working in the Detroit Medical Center to help those suffering from the pandemic. She expressed reservations about this, but still did it. If you were to go to her Facebook post, you would see a quote about what she was deciding to do. And that was, working in a hospital provides some of the richest experiences, friendships with top quality people, and tons of true belly laughs. But she said, I would be lying if I said I wasn't at least a bit nervous to be there now. One of her best friends is quoted as saying, she felt like she had an obligation to the people and the mission. Less than a week after she started to help those suffering from the pandemic, she herself fell ill and was diagnosed with the virus. She spent a week on a ventilator before she passed away. She was married to what I can gather was her life mate, Jorge, who also contracted the virus and is now recovering from it. I had the privilege of speaking with Mr. Cazares, who gave me the honor of calling him by his first name, Jorge. And he tells me that he's recovering, but he's stricken with grief and still trying to find which way is up at the loss of his wife. I believe that Jorge is doing as well as he can. He's talking about the future. He's talking about how proud he was of his wife. And he was glad to hear how we at Henry Ford College intended to praise and laud our erstwhile colleague and his wife for what she was, a woman of service. I think one quote from Ms. Cazares shortly before she passed away shows how great her relationship was with Jorge. She wrote a note to her students, and the note said, one of the screening questions I was asked upon admission to the hospital was, Do you feel safe at home? She told her students, yes. And she added with a smile, and loved. Honestly, and this is a quote from Miss Cazares, could I ask for anything more? The most important thing I need is positivity. And she told her students, those students that you and I serve today, I promise to follow up with an update soon. Ms. Cazares was our colleague, and she was our partner in service to students. Her husband told me many things that were wonderful about her, but the thing that he and I both agreed was the most important was her passion for service. I hope that I'm able to help him celebrate her birthday on our nation's birthday on July 4th. He and I have begun plans that if we're able, we'll celebrate her life and her service to our college and our students back on our campus. It's a sad day, and I want everyone from Henry Ford College to know that we honor Ms. Cazares. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'd like to add, I didn't have the honor of knowing Monica, but there was somebody that reached out to me and was looking for instructions how to get to our meeting and say something. Then he just gave up and sent me a couple words to say in her honor on his behalf. This comes from a community advocate and a business owner near I-96 and Verner Avenue. We know that's a Mexican town in Southwest Detroit. His words are, lost for words. Monica's kind soul was beyond being kind. She was actively helping the most marginalized residents of our neighborhood in the Southwest Detroit area. Monica was never looking for validation or recognition. She would be happy just to help and help anyone. I saw her back in February, where I got to spend a day at a community inclusion forum with her. Monica always loved life and had a gift of making people around her laugh. Monica Cazares, you will be missed. Rest in heaven. Your friend, Ali Beydoun. When I talked to him, you can sense the broken heart on the other side of the phone. So at this point, if you don't mind, Mr. Cavalluna, President Cavalluna, I'd like to have a moment of silence to honor our beloved Monica Cazares.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, everyone.
I would like
Madam
to
Sec-
ask a question.
Trustee Lane, please.
As a full-time member of our faculty, I think she's a full-time member, or no?
She was an adjunct faculty member who we had very, very keen eyes on and changing that status over very soon.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Action items. Citizen participation. I have not seen any blue cards. I haven't seen any emails. If anyone has seen any, please let me know.
Okay, thank you. Next item.
Okay. Special consideration of an action item. Are there any action items on this agenda for which board members or the president wish to discuss and vote on separately? If there are, we will exclude these from the motion below.
Anyone? Madam Secretary, continue, please.
Move to approve action items numbered 1 through 4 as recommended in this agenda.
So moved.
Second.
The motion was moved by Trustee Petrikov and supported by Dr. Michael Mead. Are there any questions on the action items?
Mr. Chairman,
President Cavalluna?
yeah, may I add an item to this this motion just for a point of clarification?
Please do.
I would just like the record to reflect that item 4 is a motion to move this Board of Trustees into a closed session pursuant to Governor Whitmer's Executive Order 2020-48. That's in compliance with Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act. And that'll be for the strategy sessions in connection with negotiations with collective bargaining agreements.
And I
Appreciate
appreciate that.
Appreciate
Yes.
that. Thank you. Thank you,
I do
President
too.
Cavalluna. Okay, at this point, Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Lane, yes. McDonald,
Yes.
Mead,
Yes.
Moses,
Yes.
Petchlokoff,
yes,
Thorpe,
Yes.
Barry.
Yes. The motion passes with a unanimous roll call vote. Thank you. Next item, please.
Board of Trustee Affairs, or Board of Trustee Business, acknowledgement of correspondence.
Okay, next item, please.
Board committee report.
Trustee Mead, go ahead, please.
All right, I'm going to read this because I'm too old to remember all of it. All right, so this is a subcommittee of the board that has to do with the performance assessment for President Cavaluna. So Trustee Petlicoff, Trustee Mosip, and myself were assigned by the board committee to organize the performance assessment for President Cavaluna. The committee recognizes the importance of the work of this committee, as one of the major responsibilities of each member of the board is to consider the extension of the contract with the president. The committee has asked the president to do a self-assessment regarding the implementation of the goals he set for himself and were approved by the board. Also, the committee has agreed to recommend the use of last year's performance assessment. This assessment covers these categories, which each board member would assess: the relationship of the president with the Board of Trustees, community relations of the president with the community, the physical plant, the personal qualities, and the curricula as they are offered. So Mr. Cavaluna's self-assessment will be completed shortly. Once it is completed, his self-assessment and the formal assessment will be forwarded to the board members electronically by email. The committee asks that the board members complete the formal assessment by May 6th and return it by email, and the results will be tabulated and returned to the board by May 13th. And then at the board meeting on the 18th of May, there will be a closed session where as requested by Mr. Cavaluna, where the board will discuss the results of the assessment and talk to the president about his assessment and what we think his strengths are and areas for improvement. Any questions?
Trustee McDonald, do you have something to add?
The date that it's due.
May
Okay.
6th it's due, but by May 13th, everybody will have the
The
self-evaluation of
final.
the president as well as the results of
Okay.
the formal questionnaire.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Do we have any other committee reports? Next item, Madam President, Madam Secretary.
Request for information and of future agenda items.
Trustee Thorpe.
Two related items for President Cavaluna. Has the college made any formal announcement regarding the graduation for our students? And earlier today, Trustee McDonald and I were on a call with the Dearborn High School students. So the early college students wondering what's going to happen with their graduation.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. The answer is yes. We've made some plans, but as I've started to understand over the last 4 to 5 weeks, plans are subject to change. Currently, we plan to give some type of recognition to graduates of our college, and I'm not ready to roll out the complete details of that, but it will come in the form of more of a gift rather than some type of formal convening, at least this summer. We evaluated what some schools are looking at under the description of a virtual commencement that I'm not convinced is what our students want, that is cost effective and would honor the kind of solemn and joyous occasion that graduation is. So I've turned away from that idea, and right now my focus is to possibly evaluate a formal and regular, as much as that term can be applied, regular commencement, hopefully at the very end of this calendar year. What I will do is circulate to you all what Reginald Best and his team are working on for the kind of physical gift, so to speak, in commemoration of graduation. I'll be rolling that out hopefully within the next 2 weeks. I have not had occasion yet to interact with Superintendent Maleko about the early college. That ceremony is, as you know, usually a separate ceremony from the college, and I have not been able to talk with him about that yet. So I have no news on that, and I'm happy to talk with him because he very well may have a difference of opinion on some of the things I just said, and I'd be happy to hear it if he does. I just haven't talked to him about it yet.
He just brought it up, or one of the students brought it up earlier today. So when you have a chance to speak with him, they're eager to find out.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, good, thank you. Anybody else? All right, next item, Madam Secretary.
Board member commentary.
Can I make a commentary?
Trustee Petrikov?
I just wanted to thank Mr. Cavaluna for the words that he had for the law, one of our colleagues at the college. And my only hope is that we don't see any more of these types of tragedies within our school community. I truly appreciate all the efforts everyone is making and the sacrifices that are out there. I would like to say that as we're going into the beginning of the month of Ramadan, and I live in the East End community where I know how important traditions are and the role of family and friends gathering, that this sacrifice is painful and it's real, but it's also necessary to protect those in the community who we don't anticipate having this kind of an outcome from this virus. And I have seen an uptick in my neighborhood of congregating again of families. And as we move into a month where that is the highlight to break their fasts, that I would just like to remind them that the sacrifice may have to be made to do things differently, just as were done for Easter celebrations for the Christian community and Passover for the Jewish community. At this time, things might have to look a little different than what one would like in order to observe their religious ceremonies. But I would like to wish everybody a blessed and as much as possible peaceful month that will be beginning soon.
I'd like to also add my condolences to the Cazares family for this huge loss. We're deeply saddened, and also send our condolences on behalf of myself and all of you, my colleagues, and Henry Ford College family, to all of those families who are experiencing these losses from this COVID-19 virus. We're wishing all of families the closure, comfort, and I'd like to also reiterate the message of staying home and saving lives in order to really bring and flatten that curve down. We need to really exercise all of the possible avenues to stay home and only go out whenever it's absolutely necessary. I would like to also wish those who will be observing Ramadan a blessed Ramadan this month, and also caution everybody about gatherings and to check up also on elderly. I think this is a great time to do that now, obviously with keeping distances. I live right across from my parents, and I'm trying to keep myself always at home. I talk to them through the windows, so I would expect from everybody to do the same with families. One more reminder about the census for those who haven't filled it out, to please fill it out. There are talks about extending those dates, but nothing has been really set. But if people haven't filled out their census, I cannot stress more how important that is. Exercise that should not take more than 5 minutes. So, and to remind family and friends as well to fill it out.
I'd just like to say something about Miss Caceres. When I heard about her death, the first thing I thought about was I was so sad for her family. But then the second thing was how wonderful a representative of the community college movement. Not only did she provide a lot of service, but she got the knowledge and skills that allowed her to provide even more service to the community. That's exactly what our job is to educate people so that they can provide service in our community. She certainly has showed us exactly how to do it. Get some knowledge, get some skills, and make a difference in our community. So thank you.
Thank you. If there is nobody else, then can we go to the next item, Madam Secretary?
Monday, May 11th, 2020, P12 Board of Education meeting, 7 p.m. These are virtual, all of them. Monday, May 18th, 2020, Board of Trustees Policy Committee meeting at 6 p.m.
Just a question about what the governor has said relative to the meetings of boards in the state. I thought she said something about that May 13th would be the last date. So if she does not extend, then that would mean at the college on the 13th, we would be
Able to
meeting
meet.
together.
Dr. Me, you are correct. And if that's the case, we will update our future meeting dates at the May 11th Dearborn Public Schools meeting.
All right,
But
thank
just to
you.
be safe, we decided to go this route. Very good
Thank
point. At this point, it's 7:43. We are going to break away from this meeting to go into our closed session. And after we adjourn our closed session meeting, we will come back to this meeting.